Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Actually, this is the second part of the test-driven development that we are trying to master. Um, Over the period, we've been able to accomplish having to write basic tests to test our code. But for us to continue, I'd like to go over what we've been able to accomplish so far, just in case you didn't watch the first video. But then I would highly recommend that if this is the first time you're watching, you go back and then you watch the first video and then we continue with and then you continue with this. So first of all, I'd like to go over what we've been able to accomplish so far. So in the folder structure, we have our test in here and we've written various tests to test that's me using a lot of test to test various scenarios where in this situation we are saying that it should just pass. Well, I'd like to change this to, let's change this to okay, so it changes to it should get list of users here. So this is one of the tests that we wrote, and then the second one is it should create user properly, where we pass our data, which then makes the request using Supertest, which is coming from here, and then we write our various assertions in here, and then it should not create user with invalid details, and also going over the folder structure, we have a server file which brings in app, and with app we bring in express, we initialize express, we have our cookie passer, and then we have our route coming in from the auth route. With the route, when we hit the router.get for register, it gets a list of, we have our controllers which gets the list of users, and then when we make a post request to the register endpoint, we use the create user controller. So inside our controller, we have the get users controllers in here, where we use mongoose to get the list of users. But then also we also went ahead to create some utility functions which helps us to create user and also to get the list of users in here. We also went ahead to also write test for the utility functions to make sure that they are working. So we bring in the create user and then the get user as well, and then we pass in the data in the first test. It should create user properly, which we pass in our data coming in here. We do our various expectations, and we get our code to pass. Also with the setup, we also would create a setup file to run basic functionalities for us, things like connecting to the database, and then cleaning up our database before and after each test. Also, we initialize the config here, but also to get this code to run first, we also need to make certain changes in the package.json in here, where we write a configuration for Jest, where we say the setup files after env, we need to run this file first before we start off. I mean, we make any test or whatever that we are trying to achieve. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's basically what we were able to accomplish in the first video. So in this in the second part of the second part of the video, I'd like to also let us try to also do things like logging in the user, logging out, and seeing how various scenarios work. So basically, let's write the test for it to fail. Say it should log in user properly. It should be an async function, and then we make our request, and then we say await request, and we bring in app, and then we make post to API login, and then we send our data, let's say user data, but then with the user data we would want to bring in users that are already in the database, which were created in the initialization of the setup file, which is coming from here. So we have our data can also be in this, where we have these various users which have already been created in the database. So we can then come in here. Let's see if we brought in users. We don't have users, so we can then bring in users and say require data users, and then in here we can say the user data will be the users, which is an array of the first user, like that. But let's also go ahead and then run the test to see what we can get. So we do npm run test, and then wait for it. Okay, let's see what we get. We have one test failing. That's a problem. You should log in user properly. Let's clean up this. Oh, should be await. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, we have our test pass, which is a false pass, but then if we check the status code, we can say console.log status code, which will give us a fall because we do not have that route up yet. So why are we getting this? Yeah, we have fall in here, which should be a 200. So let's go back into our auth route in here, and then we write the code for the login. So that should be login. We want the login controller in here. We do not have the login controller yet, so let's go back to the controllers and then create the login controller. So we can say const login controller should be this sync function with the request response and then the next, and then let's return res.json message. Let's say login user, and then as well let us export the login controller like that. So let's come back in here with our route and then save this file. But we also need to bring in the login controller from the auth controller. So that's login controller coming in from the auth files. Okay, so far let's see what we can get. Let's see if we can get a 200 response. We are not getting a 200. Save it again. As well. Oh, I should be off logging. Sorry. Yeah, so we get the 200. So we have our endpoint being hit from with this request. So back in the auth controller, let us write the code for the login and say that one sec. We can then do our try catch as usual, and then what we need is the email and then the password for the request, that's body, and let's console.log email password. But for now, let's return a message of login user like that. So what do we have? Yeah, so we have the email and then we have the password here. So back inside the auth controller, what we can then do is that let's first of all find the user and then check to see if we have the correct password. So we can then say const user equals to await user find one with the email. So if not user, throw new error and say user not found. Other than that, let's see if we have the user first before we continue. So let's check the user first and see what we got. All right, so yeah, wait. Let's say let's find one in here. Sorry. Oh, we also need to bring in the user model. Let's require the user from the model, user model, like that. All right. See what we got. Okay, cool. So So we have the user coming here with the password. Okay, so what then we can do from the auth controller is to check if the password match. So we need to bring in bcrypt as well. Let's comment this and say get user, get list of users, and so we can say const bcrypt equals to var bcrypt, like that. No, bcrypt.js, sorry, like that. So let's take out that and say const is valid, which will be await bcrypt dot compare with the user dot with the password, and then user dot password. So console log is valid. Let's see if it's valid is true. Yeah, it's valid. It's is the valid password. So in the catch part, let's just console.log the error dot message and return res.json with an error and error dot message, like that, with the error message that we get. So if it is a valid password, what we want to do is that if it is not if not is valid password, we will want to throw a new error and say invalid credentials. Yeah, other than that, what I want to do is that I want to take out the password as new, I say user password, and then spread out the rest, which will be in the user. So if we console log the rest, what I want to send back is the user without the password, something like that, so that we prevent a situation where the password can be seen by things like hackers and that. So if I will be under doc underscore dot something like that. Yeah, sorry. So if we check, we have the various details without the password. So if it is a valid login, what they would want to do is to send back the rests, like that. So back in the test, in the auth test, we then have to make our various assertions. So we then expect that our status, first of all, code to be 200. Let's see if that passes. That passes. And then also we expect that the body that name to be user data dot name, something like that. That also passes. We can then also make another session. Let's see if that also passes. No, that fails. Wait, let's see what we have for the body first. Which should be what we send back from the server. So in the body, what do we have? We have the name. So why is it not working? So we expect body that's name that to be user data that's name. I should pass. Yeah, that also passes. Then also what we want to do is that we want to expect body that to equal expect that object containing underscore id to expect dot string to be expect dot any to be string, like that. We are checking if it has an underscore id, which is what we would use for various things at the backend. So basically we are logging in properly here. Also, let's check for a situation. Login user with invalid credentials. Should be an async function, and then we still do our body, and status code. We await request. We pass the app, and then we make a post to API auth / login, like that, and then we send our data. We send the let's try and send an invalid data and say let's use user data here, and then bring in user data and say the email will be some email at gmail.com, and then the thread will be some password. We do not have this in the database, so it should not log in the user with these details since we do not have that. So let's check our code. So first of all, let's check the status code. If you check the console log status code, that should still give us a 200, but it should give us a 404 or 400 thereabout, I think, because that's an invalid. Oh, still get the wait. We still get the 200 because the endpoint is still there, but inside the body we did not set the status code for that yet. So wait, let's see something. Let's log in. No, let's like that. Yeah, and then it still should still be a 200. And then let's see what we have in the body. You should have an error coming in where we probably are saying that user not found and that. So yeah, with the body coming in where there's an error, user not found. So then in the assertions, we can say that we expect status put dot to be 200, and also expect body dot error to be truthy. That means there should be an error failed to be truthy there. All right. Yeah, we have our code parsing, and also we can also say that if you want to be a little more specific, we can say that with this particular test, we expect body dot error dot to be that user not found. Like that. So we have wait. Oh, sorry, we have double quotation, some quotation marking coming in here. Sorry. All right, so we have our code passing here. Let's clear the console. Yeah. Also, what we'd want to do is to get the profile. Let's say we'd want to wait. What's wrong? Yeah. Let's take on that. Let's clean up our code a bit. Okay, cool. So what we also would want to do is that we'd want to have a situation where we can get the profile of the user. But before we do that, we need to work on something like a middleware where when the user makes a request to an endpoint, like let's say the profile, we get the profile of the user based on the fact that the user is already authenticated and then the user is logged in. What do I mean by that? So inside the login, we also need to do something like generate a token and then set the token as well. So what we can then say that const token will be equals to let's bring in JSON web token first. Say const JWT equals to require JSON web token, like that. And then to generate the token, we can then say const where is it? Yeah, we generate the token. We can say jwt dot sign id equals to user dot underscore id, and then we want the JWT secret, and then we say expires in 30 days, like that. But in the environment file, we do not have the JWT secret. So we can say JWT will be equals to, let's bring in some random numbers, 1 2 3 4 4 5 ABC 1 2 3 4 5. Save it. But for this to work, let us restart the test npm run test like that. Auth controller, we have an error. No problem. Oh, it should be a string. Let's say like that. Test failure. Saved undefined. Okay, I think we then write the we did a mistake with the JWT spelling secret like that, and it's still failing. Alright, that's oh, that should come up here. So the point of all of this is that we get to track our errors way before we push our code without even having to manually test them with things like Postman and all of that. So I believe this things that we are experiencing is making it clear how how beautiful the whole point of test-driven development is. We are still running our code without even having to. We are still testing our code without even having to manually use things like Postman and all of that. With just using code. Okay, let's see if all our code passes. Yeah, it all passes. Okay, cool. All right. So we then will have to set our cookie and then make sure that the user is authenticated. So we can say rest dot cookie, which will be JWT, will be a token like that. Okay, and then we send off that. So inside the login, let's go back to checking whether the user is logged in properly. Which one should log in user properly? We have something as well inside the response, which is headers like that. So when we check let's check what's in the headers. What we want to establish is that we want to be sure that there is cookies present in the headers, or the token that we generated and we set in the auth controller, which is here, is present in the response that we get back from the server. So if we check the headers, we can see that we have our JWT here, which is in set cookies. So what then we can do is that we can say that because the token that we are grabbing will be in the headers and it will be in set cookie like that. And set cookie is an array. If we check, it's an array, and then we want the first one, which is the 0, 1. But that gives us all of this, including the JWT. What do I mean by that? So if we console.log the token, let's take out this. If we console.log the token, we see that we have the JWT as well present in the string. So which is here. So what we can do is that we can use the JavaScript.split with the equal to sign, and then take which returns an array, and then we take the second one, the second item in the array, which gives us the token. Okay, so take this one out. Okay, so that gives us the token here. So we can then make an assertion that we expect a token to be present after the user is logged in. So we can say expect token that to be defined, or to be defined like that, to be defined like that. Yeah, or if we can do to be defined, or we can even say to be truthy like that. That also will pass. Okay, something like that. All right, so what I also would want to move on to is that I want us to test for a situation where we can get the profile of the already user that is logged in. What do I mean by that? Back in the server, I'd want to create a new folder and say middleware, and then we can then create a new file and say auth middleware.js. Const is the auth because to it should be on a sync, it should be a request response, and then the text. I mean, if you are familiar with Node.js, we can then say get our token. Let's do a try catch. If there's an error, we return the rest of JSON error. We say no token found. We can then also set the status with we return rest.status of 400, or let's say 500 in this situation, and then we do a JSON and let's say return error and say invalid credentials. Then in here, let's grab our token from the request. So we can say const token will be equal to request dot cookie, which will be our JWT, like that. So let's just return where's the JSON with the token, like that. Then let's console check to see if we have a token first, and then we proceed. So how then do we, let's name this auth, how then do we check for this? All right, so we can then come back to our route, which will be in our app, and for that let us do something like let us bring in the auth and say const auth should be in the middleware, and then we have the auth middleware here, like that. And then if we hit the endpoint of, let's say app.use/API check, we want to use the auth middleware, like that. Okay, so back in the auth test, let us make a we have an error. Should we do that? Oh, I think we forgot to export the auth route. So auth middleware. So we can then say module.export equals to auth for now. So inside the app, let's destructure this and use what like that. module. All right. So back in the auth test, we can simulate. Say it should check for authenticated user. So what we can then do is that we make a request to we await request, we pass the app. Let's think about this. So so API auth. What do we have? Wait, in here, let's say app.get /API auth. I want to use the auth middleware like that. Sorry. Yeah, 500 like that, because we do not have any token. So for us to have a token set, let's come back in here, and then first of all, let's hold on with this, and then let's log in the user first. So we say const login user will be await request, then we pass in the app, then we do a post /API auth, and then login, and then we send the send the user data. Then we say const user, the data will be equals to the users, the first one, like that. We do not have status code here, sorry, which will give us an error. So first of all, let's log in first, get the status code. Okay, so let's get the token from the headers. Then we want the like we did here, which will be where is it? Which will be yeah, which will be this code. So first of all, let's get the token here. Which will be that, but it's like that. So if we console, let's log the token. What do we have? All our tests is still passing, and then we have the token. So to set the token when using the request model, what we can do is we can let's hit the check the get request to check token. So we can say const the body, and then the status code will be the await the requests, pass the app. Let's make it get request to / API auth, like that. And then we set the token by saying that we can attach in to the request set and say cookie, the cookie to be should be big, could be the JWT to be equals to token, like that. Let's see what we have. All right, so let's check the status code to see what we get. So when we say console.log status code, that should give us a 200, something like that. Oh. Wait, let's come back to the auth middleware. Let's clean up this first. Okay. Let's say const to async request response next. Let us res.json with a message. All right. Get took it like that. Yeah, that gives us the 200 here. So basically what TDD is helping us out is to help us write our code. It's like, you get what I mean? Something like that. So instead of manually having to test our code, we are just using the power of test-driven development to write our code. So let's continue. So what I want to do is that I want to do my try catch like that, and then in here JSON status 500. I don't know why, but JSON the message of invalid credentials like that. Then say const token will be equals to request that cookie JWT console that let's return res the JSON the message get token like that. What do we have? I already have a test failing. What's the problem? Oh, Jesus. Oh boy. Let's check. Where is it? Do they use a cookie parser? Yeah, we did. Oh, okay. It's cookies. Alright. So const token will be equals to request dot cookies dot JWT. So it's not token like that. Cool. So we can then say if not token, we would want to return res the status of 400 and then a JSON message of error invalid node token found like that. And then other than that, yeah. Okay, so it's 200. What we can also do is that we can then find the user by bringing in the user model. Then const JWT equals to require JSON web token. So inside the auth function, we can say const we have to decode the token. Const the we want the ID equals to JWT dot verify the token, and then we process env.jwt, and let's go secret. So let's log the ID what we have. Alright. Yeah, we have the user ID. So we can then use this user ID to get the user from our database. So we can also say that if not ID, return res JSON status, let's give it a 400, and a JSON message with an error flag to say that invalid token. Even though the token is present, it's not valid. Let's see if that passes. Okay, still have the 200. Okay, so then we can also check for get the user. Let's to await user find by ID with the ID. You can also log the user here. That should give us the user from the database. Yeah. So from there we can say request dot user should be equals to the user, and then instead of returning this, we would rather want to move to the next middleware like that. All right. So this 404 is coming up because we are redirecting to the next middleware. So we can then come back to the auth here, and then we know that the middleware is working. So instead of us doing this, let's comment this one out, and then we say that we can just say that expect status code to be all for like that, which will pass. Cool. Let's check what we have in the body. returns an empty object, which is fair because we are redirecting it to another middleware. So also we'd want to it should get profile of already logged in user, and then we say it should be on a sync function, and then for that we can log in. Pretty much we are going to do all of this again. We are going to do all of this again like that. Paste it here. Like that. Why are we getting the yeah, that should give us the token. And then what we want to do with the endpoint is that we want to hit an endpoint of, let's say, get user profile like that. So we can say with the body status code will be the await the request to app dot get API auth profile like that. We then can then set our cookie to be JWT JWT to be equals to the token. So when we hit this endpoint with a user that is already logged in, what we want to do is, let's make this, if we hit this endpoint, which is the API auth with the profile, which we've not written the code for, what we want is to get the profile of the user that is already logged in like that. Okay, so what we can then do is that let's check to see if we have any errors. Sorry. Yeah, but if we should check the status code, that should give us 400. That should give us a 404 because we do not have that status code yet. I mean, we do not have the endpoint yet, which is that. So back in the auth route, what we can do is to bring in the auth middleware. We want to require the middleware, then we want the auth middleware like that. So what we then do is router dot get profile. We want to use the get user profile controller like that. Copy that. We are going to create that in the auth controller, so we require that from here. Let's go back to the auth controller in here and then create the function for that. So we say const, it should be on a sync function, sorry, request response next, and then let's write the minimum code 200 and then the JSON message of like that, and then we export that here. Let's paste that. Let's save it, come back to the auth route, and then save that. Do we have any errors? Okay, we are getting so API auth profile. It's still a fall for wait, so let's go back the auth route. Profile. Cool. So that should give us at 200. Cool. So, but before we do that, let's pass in the auth middleware first to check if the user is authenticated, and then we return the data for the user. Cool. Still at 200. So going back in here, what we can then do is that inside the auth.test, we can then check what we have in the body. Let's do the body like that. Yeah, so it's get user profile. So in here, then we can then also do if we console.log the requested body. Oh no, I mean press the user, sorry. That will give us the user, since we are passing in the middleware first before. Yeah, so that gives us that. So what we can then do is, instead of returning that, we want to first of all take out the user and then the password, actually, because we don't want the password to be sent back to the client. So we can say const password, and then the rest from request.user, and then console.log the rest to see what we have. This is a simple restructuring that we are trying to achieve. This part, simple restructure. Maybe in some time in the future, I'll do a full tutorial on destructure. So yeah, so that gives us ._doc. I always make this mistake. MongoDB sort of like returns the user data under the _doc if you are trying to make certain changes before you pass it back to the client. So that gives us this without the password. Okay, so what then we can then do is to send back the rest, which is that. So let's go back into the auth test and make our various assertions. So we expect status code that to be 200. Then remove the code pass. Oh, it's all passes, and then we expect body that's name to be user data that's name, like that. Cool, everything passes. Great. Okay, moving on to the next bit. Say it should log out user properly. I mean, you can still continue with the various assertions to make your to make it more like better. I mean, like write various assertions. You can check the Jest library to see the kind of assertions you can also make to check various things. Like you can make multiple. What I mean is you can make multiple assertions to make it more like strong with regards to having a very confident test. Okay, what I mean by that is that should make a mistake. We can also write another assertion, expect that the body to equal expect object containing underscore id expect that any to be string, like that. So you can make it more like bulletproof, so that like you have more confidence in the fact that you have written a solid test for your code. Okay. All right. So moving on, we can then also say that it should log out user properly. So it should be an async function, and then in that situation, we can first of all log in the user, which will be same thing we did here. We can refactor this and then put this into a function that you don't have to copy the code over and over and over again. So all right, so if we console.log the token, that should return us a token. Okay, so in that situation, that gives us, we log in the user, that gives us the token. And then what we then will want to do is to log out user, which we do same to our wait to request to the app to, let's say, make a get request to the folder as API auth logout, like that. And then we set the cookie like that, and then we say JWT will be equals to the token, like that. With the status code, we are expecting the 400. A 404 because we've not written the endpoint for that code. So even though all our code is passing, if we check the, where is it? Save it again. If we check the status code, we have a 404. So same, let's go back into the auth route and say router get / logout. We want to use a logout controller like that. We do not have the function defined yet. We bring it in from here. Logout controller. So inside the controllers here, we say logout user. We bring in the logout controller, request response. Next, let's write the minimum code for us to establish a 200 request. Like that. Let's save it. So let's export that, the logout controller here. Save that. Come back in our auth route. Save that. What do we have? We are getting some strange errors here. Count this out, see over. Okay. Let's paste that. Away pass request. Body reset the cookie with the JWT to that, and that should work. Yeah. Right. Oh. Okay, that works. So back in the auth, let's add the cookies as well. Bring back the cookies, setting the cookies here. Cool. So we expect, let's see what we got for the status code. Yeah, 200. So we expect the status code to be 200, like that. So back in the auth controller, let's remove the cookie and say rest.clear cookie awt return rest.js son with the message, wait, with the message you have been logged out, like that. Okay, so back in the auth.test, we then expect that, let's see what we have in the body. In the body, yeah, so we expect, we can make an assertion that we are getting this from the server. So inside the assertions, we can also say expect body dot message that to be that. But then also, how then do we check if there's the cookies has been cleared? So back in here, let's check what we have in the headers, like that. So instead of that, let's console headers, like that. So let's make this bigger. Okay, so inside the headers, we can see that where is it? The set cookies, which is the JWT, equals to an empty string. So then how then do we assert that? So we can say something like we can then say something like cost check token to be equals to headers, and we want the set cookie, like that. So let's check what we have, the check token, yeah, like that. Okay, so we have something, this is what we have, but actually when you check, it is an array with some crazy stuff. So then what we can, the assertion that we can make it, that we can say expect check token, expect check token, actually dot sum, and then we pass the let's say cookie so let's say cookie that includes JWT, which will be equals to that expect check token that some well, let's rewrite this again. We can say expect check token dot sum on the cookie, and then we expect the cookie that includes JWT equals to that to be truthy, like that. That's wrong. All right, let me go over my notes. Actually, this is what we want to write. Wait, let me copy that and paste it here. So expect that some of the cookie includes JWT. That should be true. Let's say save it. And that passes. Easy. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is how like we can use TDD. Oh, did we do something wrong? Okay. In a nutshell, this is basically how we can use a TDD to write tests without like having to manually test our code. So with this, we are very sure that the various aspect of our code is working the way it's supposed to. You can also go ahead and then make various kind of assertions, make various kind of requests, depending on what you are trying to achieve. Okay, I hope this tutorial was helpful. And then also I'd want to take this opportunity to also thank all. If you've been able to make it this far, I want to thank you for watching this tutorial, and then catch you another time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Alright, see you in the next tutorial. Bye.